All right, welcome back, guys. We've been getting a ton of questions on what you need to film hunts, how to film hunts, and we're going to kind of tail this in because we just announced that next year during Elk Week we're doing a film contest. So what we want you guys to do is to go out in the fall of 2022 and film your elk hunt, and then finish edit it, bring it to us and submit it, and then we're going to watch all of these in the spring of 2023, and maybe we could pick your video to post on our channel. We didn't want to just send you guys out there without any information. Whether you're a finished filmmaker or maybe this is the first video that you're ever going to film and edit yourself, we want to give you all the tools to succeed. So I think there will be something in here for everyone, whether you're a finished film editor or this is your first one. And so first off, we're going to go through about 10 steps from start to finish, from how to plan a hunt to film, to filming it, to getting back, editing it. So whether you are trying to get into the hunting industry as a career or you just want to produce a film for this Elk Week next year to get on the channel, I think we're going to give you all the steps here to do that. So first off is camera gear. We get a lot of questions on what camera gear we use, what's the best for YouTube, what's the best for hunting, all these different questions. And the first thing I want to stress, we're going to show you guys what we use for camera gear on a day-to-day basis and then throughout the year, depending on the hunt. But the number one thing that we want to stress is that you don't have to have a $2,000 camera. When I started out, I bought a $500 camera because it's what I could afford, and I learned every single in and out of that camera. It became my best friend, and then we moved on from there as we progressed. And even on your iPhone, I mean, you can take insane video, you can edit video, you can do all these things all the way from start to finish to getting it on YouTube just on your iPhone. The first step we're going to do is how to pack for filming a hunt. First thing I'm going to do is grab one of our empty dry boxes off the shelf. I'm going to put it over here, open up, and then we're going to go into our workbench and grab everything that we're going to need for this trip, whether it's a 1-day film, a 3-day trip, or a 5-day trip, or we're gone for a month. I'm going to show you guys how I pack and then everything I bring along. So the most important and obvious thing first off is a camera. We use Sony A7 IIIs, and these are what we use day in, day out. And they've been awesome, but again, these cameras retail at $2,000, $2,200, and you don't need this to film a hunt. We'll actually show you guys what I started out on and then what we hand a lot of the guys to use for vlog cameras. It's a lot more compact, it's more affordable, and it's honestly a really good option for getting into filming hunts or any outdoor content. That is a Sony a6500. This whole line, all of the a6000s, they have a 6000, 6300, 6500, and then going up from there. They all have a couple different features. It's a super small camera body. These, you can even find them used on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist for like 500 bucks, and it's a great camera. First thing we're gonna do is just put that in that camera case. It's something that we're taking on every trip, no matter what. Next up, what I'll do is I will grab mic and lighting. So what we're using is Rode shotgun mics. We've also used the Sony XLR mics, and I'll just grab that and the lighting. It goes in the case right away before I think about anything else. Something else I'll put in this camera box is other lenses. You can find one do-it-all lens. Like we like to shoot on a 20 to 105, and that can pretty much cover everything. It's kind of one of those deals where it's a jack of all, master of none, right? And so what I'll do a lot of times, I'll bring 2 or 3 extra lenses for different scenarios. And what I'll do is, that's our zoom lens. I'll bring a wide angle and then maybe a prime lens. And without getting too much into gear and more on the baseline of stuff, that's just so I can cover all different fields of view, a low light lens, something for really good still images, and I'll throw those in that camera box to have them on me or in my pack at all times. Next thing that we're pretty much always gonna have on us no matter what we're doing for hunting and fishing filming, at least one is a GoPro. This is the GoPro Max. It's a 360, but it can also just be used as the front facing or rear facing camera. And this is pretty much always going to be on my backpack strap for whatever else, supplementary shots, or getting the over the shoulder stuff that we're going to cover. I'll be putting this on my monopod, reaching around on the shooter for a different angle. We almost never use a GoPro for primary footage, but they can be. I mean, if you have a GoPro and that's all you have to film a hunt, it definitely can be done. But what they're awesome for is just supplementary footage, writing footage, time lapse, anything like that. That's everything that really goes inside my travel case. I can cover all my bases for just filming a hunt. The next thing is stuff that goes on my body, right? So you have the stuff that goes in your case that's interchangeable, it's for traveling around. Then there's the stuff that I have on my body at all times. And what we've been using for this is the marsupial fishing pack. It's like a bino harness, but what it's intended for was fly fishermen having something on their pack to have all their gear on them at once, where it's right here and it's handy. But what we're really excited to use them for all the stuff that usually we use to put in our hip pockets or our main pockets or anything else like that. I'll show you guys my kind of system for that. With one add-on, this is the large phone case, I believe. And I don't actually use it for my phone. I'll show you guys kind of how I load this out and how I keep the most important camera gear right on me at all times to make sure that I'm staying filming throughout the day. The absolute first thing I'm going to grab is a card case. The number one thing is getting to know your gear and how much you use a day as far as batteries and SD cards, but generally I'm using 1 to 2 SD cards a day. Sometimes only half a card, sometimes 2 full 64 gig cards. So if you look in this case here, open it up, I have 5 cards and then 2 mini SD cards for the GoPro. And before I leave for a trip, I'll make sure this is completely loaded up. And the system I use is if the card is face up, it is a clean card, it's ready to use, it hasn't been filmed on. And then once I pull a card out of my camera, what I'll do is flip it in upside down. So I know that card has been shot on and that footage needs to be dumped. Another little tip is every single day, no matter how much of that memory on the card I use, I will take that card out at the end of the day and put it in my camera case so that I have at least 1 card for every single day. And that way it makes footage sorting a little bit easier when you get back to the office. The absolute next thing I'll do is batteries. So for this, you just take an example for what cameras you have. We have the GoPro 360, then the A7 III. So we're gonna grab enough batteries for that to go on a 3-day hunt. What I like to keep my batteries in is a dry bag. These little dry bags you can get on Amazon for $4 or $5. And then within that, I'll have a little separator pouch for different kinds of batteries. So for this, we're bringing 2 different cameras. We need 2 different kinds of batteries. What I can generally get away with is 1.5 batteries a day, but a great rule of thumb is 2 to 3 batteries a day for however long you're gonna be gone if you don't have the ability to recharge. So say we're going on a 3-day hunt, I'm gonna film the whole thing. I'm gonna bring 8 batteries just to be safe, because if I wanna do a time lapse, anything extra like that, one gets lost, one gets wet, I know I at least have enough extra to get me through the hunt. Directly after doing that, I'm putting it in my chest pouch in the main compartment here. Another beneficial thing to that, besides just having your batteries close to where if you need to change in a moment's notice you can, is that they're close to your body, and batteries are heat sensitive. So in the cold, they actually lose their life by up to 20-30%. They can die that much quicker. But if you have them close to your body, they're receiving body heat, they're the first thing closest to your chest inside that pack, it can prolong that battery's life a little bit to where you have to change them a little bit less. The next important thing to have on my person at all times is lens cleaning. So I'll have a puffer and that'll go in that same compartment. And then right here I have them already in there is lens wipes. So the next one I'll have on me at all times is lighting. You don't have to have big studio professional lighting all the time. What this is called is a lume cube, and it can just snap right in on your camera's cage. You turn it on, you can charge it externally, and for at night or early morning, this is just external lighting that goes on my camera body, and it just pairs a lot better with the camera than holding a headlamp over it or anything else, and it kind of just gives your footage, it kind of just takes your footage to the next level. This is always just going right here in my pack, so that if we're getting out, a hunt's getting over, it's starting to get dark, the first thing I'm gonna do is pull that out and stick it on my camera body to make sure that our footage is not losing any quality. So the last non-hunting related thing that I'm gonna put in this chest pack is a charger. And whether you're on a bivvy hunt or just day hunting, this is something I keep on me all the time. This is an Anker PowerCore 26800. It has a couple different USB ports and micro USB. And what I keep this for is this plug will work for that microphone or for that lume cube. So if something's dying, or if I just need to charge my phone, if for some reason I lose backup batteries, anything else happens, I keep this on me at all times for backup power in case I need to charge up that stuff. This is just everything we use on a day-to-day basis. There's so much other stuff out there. Just find what works for you, find what you can afford, and just get whatever it is that you can get to get yourself out there and actually filming these hunts. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna link all the camera gear in the description below. So if you wanna go through and pick through what we're actually using and look at all the specs on it, look at the pricing sheet, that'll all be in the link in the description below. So after you've gotten all your gear ready and you're organized to go on your hunt, the next thing I'll do is just shots lists and deliverables. And so be in contact with whoever you're working with. If they have a product that they're trying to push, you need to make sure that you have all these things down. You have different ideas for shots on that, scenarios, talking points on that. So when you go out in the woods, you have something to refer to on your phone, whether it's a screenshot or whatever else, to make sure you're just getting all of that content that's promised. Or if you're just doing this with your friends, try to tell a good story. So if you're going out, you guys are going on your first out-of-state hunt, one of your friends, it's his first elk hunt, he's never killed an elk before, whatever the story is, find some key points in that hunt that would tell a great story. Because again, and what you'll hear us say on and on and on again, is that the story always wins. So go in, write out a document, kind of tell a story there, and figure out what clips you're going to need when you're actually on that hunt to tell that story in the best way. So now that you guys have done all the prep work, you've gotten all your gear together, you're excited, it's finally elk season, the next thing we're going to talk about is actually being on the hunt. And I think this will be a pretty cool portion. And we're going to go and meet Trent, and we're going to show you guys kind of shooter cameraman relationships and what it's like to actually be on these hunts and what your main focus should be while you're out in the field trying to make an elk hunting video. All right, guys, now that we've made it to crunch time, you've done all your prep work, we've been on the hunt for who knows how many days, it comes time for that first setup. So a lot like if you guys have hunted before and you're going to be setting up on a bull, your main job as a cameraman is just to mirror that shooter. Now, one of the biggest things right off the bat is Cody's a left-handed shooter, so I always want to be on his left side. And same thing, the only difference is sometimes we're going to pick like a bigger tree where it's something where both of us can get in front of to break up our profile. So Cody's left-handed, I'm going to get off his left side, and the reason for that is any which way he turns, I can still be over the shoulder on that shot, almost 180 degrees. Even all the way up to right here at this point, I can still be in a position where I can get that shot. And much like if you are setting up for a shot, the first thing that we're going to do when we get here is a lot of times I'll run a monopod with even a base on it. So just like they've talked about in last videos, you'll clear out your feet, branches, stuff like that, to where you do have that freedom to move and to chase the shooter. The other thing we'll do is run a GoPro just for a second angle on the monopod and just point it towards that shooter. And that just being because you're going to be, the main thing is just that kill shot. That's what everyone wants, is that money shot. So you want to be tight on that bull and still adjust that angle to where when you're tight, where you guys think that bull's going to come in, you're able to get the shooter on the GoPro.
So, and then on the shooter side of life, you want to communicate like, hey, I got a shooting lane right here, can you see this good? I got a lane right here, can you see that good? In having that constant communication while you're going through that setup process, because if it's good for one and not good for the other, it might not be the ideal spot to set up to film. Sometimes it's all you got and you got to make do with it, and sometimes you got to run that monopod higher or lower or something like that. But constant communication as you're going in the setup phase is key.
Just as it's his job to try and predict where that elk's going to come through, it's your job with the camera to do the same thing. So you guys can talk about it, communicate if you hear a branch pop, whatever else, but I mean, rather than hunting that animal with your bow, you have your camera, and it's your job to get that best shot. So when you get into a situation and you're picturing your shooting lanes, figure out what you need to do, what micro adjustments you need to make to where hopefully you can just get that perfect shot that everyone envisions getting.
After the shot too, if the bull does take off, go to the reaction. That reaction is priceless, and a lot of times that's where you have this roller coaster the whole elk hunt, and it all comes down to a few seconds. As the caller comes in or anybody else around, try to capture that conversation, that excitement, and it'll relive for your story.
So we're going to dive into a little bit more of the camera side of it. Like as you can see here, through the leaves and the timber, you got bright spots and dark spots.
Another big thing there is auto and manual focus. So a lot of times, especially in the Roosevelt woods, we're in thick strands of timber like this, or anywhere really. And running autofocus is obviously easier when you first pick up a camera. That's probably what you're going to feel comfortable doing. What I would do and what I did to learn is just practice manual focus. I'd go out in my yard and just practice rolling focus, and that's just so you can make sure that you get that kill shot in perfect focus every time, or at least close. And so what I'll do is I'll be recording and I'll be a little loose on my heads to where I can manipulate them, but where I still have to hold the camera. So once I'm recording, I'll have one finger on the zoom right here and one finger on the focus. So the entire time I can be rolling zoom with one finger and rolling focus with the other, and learn how much you have to move at different f-stops to have whatever your subject is in focus. So as that bull closes from 60 to 20 yards and you can see him the whole time, I'm just rolling the focus with this finger and the zoom, backing out if I have to make sure that you have that entire shot in focus. And again, if you're calling something in a wide open field, it's probably not going to be a huge deal, but even then I'm still running manual focus. And that's just because this timber's so broken up, your camera's not smart enough, it's going to want to pick up other things.
Leaves.
And the last thing you want to do, is get that shot perfectly framed in crunch time. You worked your butt off for a week, and then the shot's just out of focus. What I'll do for exposure, that's the other setting, right? That can be super important. If you're in broken up lighting conditions, what we call is uneven light. Right here, it's dark, cool, shaded. A lot of times we were calling elk, maybe behind you or in front of you, there's an opening, and it's going to be uneven light. And that's the other thing. If you're running auto ISO, your camera's going to pick up one of those spots. Sometimes it's the right one, sometimes it's not. So I'll run exposure lines on my camera just to make sure. And what that is they're little zebra lines. And so they'll show you when a certain part of the image is blown out, which means it's too light in that area. What you want is your subject to be in that perfect amount of exposure. And so what I'll do is either run manual ISO once it's close. I'll run it in auto to get it close in a scenario, and then I'll flip over to manual ISO and dial it in that scenario. Or on my wheel stop up here, I'll adjust it to -1, +1 to make sure that whatever that camera's focusing on, that part is so it's perfectly backlit. So we kind of talked about what's in our chest packs when we're in the field, but I kind of want to show you guys what the reasoning is for that. And we're always going to have our packs on, but for me, my pack is everything hunting related. It's food, bivy camp, extra clothes, whatever else. The only camera gear I might have in my pack is a spare stash of batteries, extra lenses, whatever I'm not going to need access to quick. But everything I want access to quick is going to live right here. And the reason being is you never want to not get a shot because you're scared to use up some of your battery life, or you never want to miss a shot because your lens was dirty and you didn't have what you needed right on you right then and there to clean it.
No comment.
And so what we'll carry in this, I'm going to roll the footage. So first right here, if we're in a calling scenario, a lot of times we'll be sitting somewhere for 20-30 minutes, and it's just like at any moment that elk could step out and you never know. But what you want to be doing is recording the whole time. You could catch every bugle, any branch break, whatever else. And so the last thing you want to do is not record certain moments because you're worried you're going to run out of SD card life or battery life. So what I'll have right here is I'll just have batteries right in this pouch. So if I need to, I can just stop for a second right here. I'm still in position, and then just throw another battery in, and we're right back there. I'm not having to throw my pack off. I'm not having to miss moments because of low battery life and trying to conserve it at all. The other thing I'll keep right here is, like you guys already saw, lens wipes. SD cards are right here, so at any moment, anything I need, a lens blower, I can just blow off dust particles on the lens. So you have everything right there to capture that shot and to make sure you're getting every single moment.
So if you're new to a camera, take the challenge and make a story about your family outing for the weekend. Get through the paces. If you guys are going on a camping trip, carry the camera. Then when you come to the editing room, you can see the gaps that you missed, things that you're like, oh man, I should have shot this. And it's a big learning curve. And I feel like the best guys that are going to film are the guys that can go through and edit, and then they can see that when they edit it, it all comes to, I got it or I didn't get it. So it's good practice. Make a little mini short film about going to your kid's baseball game or anything like that, and enjoy it. Get creative with it.
The last thing you want to do is get into the woods. Maybe you saved up for 3 months to buy a fancy camera and to not know your gear. This thing, for me, it has to be like tying your shoes or driving a car. Everything on this camera has to be second nature. So it looks like there's a lot of buttons. There's so much stuff on YouTube to learn. And what I did, honestly, I decided I want to make hunting films. So I saved up my money and I bought a camera. And what I did was literally sit in my living room like Cody talked about, or went out in the backyard and practice every single thing on the camera. To now it gets to the point where I can just look at the screen and everything's reactive to where I'm getting that shot I want. I know my gear and everything's second nature and super comfortable. So anyone you're working with or doing it for fun with, make sure that relationship's good. You guys can constantly communicate. Another thing that it's actually to a benefit, because a lot of times we'll be sitting here asking each other questions. You don't have those, when you have those second guesses in your brain, did you hear him here? Did you hear him here? What did it look like when I shot? Whatever else, having that person to kind of make that next step with can help a lot of times.
It helps for confidence. Just like Noah was saying, talk about everything. Talk about, it's super fast, and get a double opinion on it. Hey, how far do you think that myrtle tree is? I don't know, 35. I thought it was 30. All right, I'll shoot it for 32. I don't have time to range it because he's coming down this trail. super fast stuff like that is sometimes helpful, and it just builds confidence in the shooter.
Yeah.
It just makes me go, all right, I got 2 opinions on this, and now I've got more confidence going forward. So.
And it's the little things like that that add value to a brand, add value to you, to where people are going to want to employ you and work with you if that's what you're looking to do, or if you're just looking to do it as a hobby. And so there's little things like, I'll carry a rangefinder right here. So maybe we get in one of those moments, Trent goes out and stops one, I'll have a call in my mouth. There's little things that you can do to help that go the extra mile without sacrificing the final video quality that can really help. If you're uncomfortable with it, maybe you haven't elk hunted enough and you don't know when you're allowed to move, what you're allowed to do, again, just mirror that shooter. If I'm right here and that bull crosses into another window, Trent's gonna have to make a micro adjustment too. He's gonna be on his bow and he's probably gonna have to do this. So I'm sitting here waiting, kind of looking at him out of my peripheral, and the minute he does that, I'm gonna do the same exact thing. And so our movements are timed up. So you never wanna be moving at different times. It's just added movement that could get you caught or picked off by that bull.
We were just talking about how quick things can happen and you're in the moment, but take 2 seconds, check your mic, make sure it's picking up both channels, check that you actually clicked record. I mean, that happens, you would think it wouldn't happen, but maybe you double clicked or something. So just make sure everything's actually recording, give everything a once over. That's probably the biggest thing, because you get looking off at the elk or the animal and you're paying attention to your shooter and you're thinking about all these other things, and you in your head you thought you clicked record and you're doing all this thing. You don't want to have that be done and you didn't record the whole thing. So just make sure. Yeah, just make sure you've.
If we had the footage, we would show an example. But guess what? He double pressed record.
So we are running Sony A7 IIIs, but again, you don't have to have this setup. Like you can use the most basic, your cell phone. You can use just a GoPro. I mean, a cheaper camera. I mean, you can use whatever you have. So some of the stuff we're talking about, like a phone, you're not going to dive into f-stops and ISOs and stuff. I think they make some apps now, but it's more for these kind of cameras. But again, don't think that just because you don't have this setup, you can't do it. Like, get out there, even if you're not in a hunting situation. We just talked about like the contrast in the woods. Get out there and take some photos, get the feel for the lighting, get the feel for how the camera works, whether it's your phone, GoPro, or a nice full frame camera.
So what has made us actually successful in the past is not exactly the hunting, maybe it's not all of that stuff, it's the storytelling. It's taking something that you go on a trip or a hunt or whatnot and actually being able to show you that and take you through those roller coaster ups and downs.
What the whole thing you want to do is accomplish the viewer being like they were right there with you the entire time. There's no gaps. You have a beginning, a middle, and the end, and that beginning may start before daylight. It may start mid-morning, you know, when the day starts. But getting that whole story, the viewer is going to understand. And then the pass of time is the big thing, right? That's where the B-roll comes in, these transitions. It might be hours between the action, but in several seconds, you can tell the story that they packed up camp, they hiked for 4 miles, they bugled a bunch, they finally got one to go. And that all condenses into a 20-second B-roll, but it moves the film along, and you don't have to have 10 minutes of trying to drag something out that wasn't valid. So, but shooting that B-roll, making sure you get those little glimpses, the action, the movement to progress the time. Because the biggest thing is you don't want to have to put a timestamp there and saying, now it's this time. You let that viewer understand that the time has passed with a time lapse, anything like that to show forward movement.
And a good way to make sure that you're doing that in the field, because that's something for a lot of people that's easy to miss or easy to forget about because it's not one of those giant moments, is every single thing you do, you think, okay, what shot can I take that's going to represent this moment, whatever we're doing. Sometimes we're driving around for half the day. Okay, what can I do to show that? We're going, and like Cody said, we're hiking 4 to 6 miles just to get to a new spot to find something. You know, what 2 shots can you take that are going to represent that moment? And another thing is you can never have enough B-roll. Chase and I have never gotten into the editing room and gone, man, we really took too much B-roll on this hunt. I'm kind of regretting it. But on the other side, you'll always regret it when you don't have enough.
Shoot with emotion.
Yeah, the way I relate it is, the reason we all love hunting is because the way it makes us feel, right? Every single hunt, whether it's successful or not, it made you feel a certain way when you were on that hunt and right after. I want to be able to go back and watch this hunt and feel the same exact way I felt when I was on the hunt. So how can I tell that story while filming and in the editing room and draw those feelings? Sometimes we'll even write them down, what certain days felt like, how the day went. And
Field
so
notes are huge.
Yeah, and so when you come back and maybe you have 5 other films to edit, you can, and you can remember exactly how you felt on that hunt. And the biggest thing is just portraying that. Because everyone, I mean, the big moment we talk about is kill shots, and that's one where we want to have it crisp, in focus, look good and everything. But it's everything that encases and surrounds that pulls the entire story together, and that makes a film.
That's what we're looking for too, for the submissions that you are going to submit to us and win. Probably, what is it, $1 million? Is it $500,000? No money, $250,000.
No money,
Yeah.
no money,
no money,
no
at all?
money, no money.
Like a couple dollars. How much do I get for putting it on? How much do is that a real thing?
But we are doing a film competition, so if you guys didn't catch Elk Week, I'll link it right up here. And what we want to do for 2023 is we want to put your guys' videos on the channel. So we want you to go out this fall, the fall of 2022, and capture your elk hunts, and then submit them to us in the spring. Tell a good story, and we're gonna pick.
We're gonna pick an undisclosed amount depending on how good they are.
Yeah, and we're gonna put them on the channel, and we want to display your guys' talent, show your stories, and just have a week to celebrate elk hunting films.
Because pretty soon they're gonna have your job probably.
Yeah, and if any of them are good enough, it could be you right here, and I could be out.
100%. Because our first rule is cut your hair. And look who's not obeying rule number uno.
Rule number 2 is button your shirt, so we could be left to one guy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have to apologize.
So now that we've taken you guys through kind of everything it takes in the field to tell that story, to get that crunch time moment, we're gonna head back to the office. Got a couple more tips on organization and what we do there to kind of finally pull that story together and get it to that finished product that we all love to watch. All right, you guys, welcome back to the office portion of this video. Whether you're looking to make your first elk hunting video for your family and friends, an aspiring filmmaker to work, hope maybe in the hunting industry, or if you've been doing it for a long time and maybe you're along the way for some tips or tricks that maybe you haven't thought of yet, I hope you've been able to get something out of this video. And one thing I'm gonna do that we didn't really show or cover is every single day, if you're on a multi-day hunt, is every single night I'm bringing my laptop if we're at a base camp or we're bivvying in once we come out for a bit. I'm bringing my laptop. I have one of these lacy drives. Usually I'll have 2 to 3 on me at all time. And I'm gonna dump footage, and I'll dump it on 2 different drives so I have multiple copies of it, and then clearing those cards. And I'm just trying to make sure that I have that footage in 2 places at all times. There's no chance of it ever getting lost. And then that way when you get back to the office, you don't have to worry about dumping and digging and organizing through multiple days of footage to get it into the right spots. And once you get into the post process, into this editing process, organization is key. So I'll kind of show you guys how I organize clips, and I figured no better way to show you than the video we're actually working on right now. So let's hop in. So if you guys look at this file here, this is how to film. It's on my main drive, and I just have a how to film folder. It's just a 1-day video. But if this was a multiple day video, what you'd see is how to film, or the hunt name. Maybe you're gone for a week. Then I'm gonna have a file for every single day of the week with the date and then a little keynote. So if we hop in here on how to film, we did an office portion. That was the first portion you watch. So it's office clips. So if you open up this here, it's all the clips shot off of one camera from that office portion. So these are all the raw unedited clips. And then there's the in the field portion, the part that you guys just watch. And if you look, Chase's camera was kind of the main camera on that one. So under Chase's camera, all these clips that are, again, raw clips of everything his camera captured. And that's just the biggest thing here, guys, is organizing them into different files so that when you import them into Premiere Pro, it's easy to sort through. You're not getting lost looking for footage in different places, and it's very segmented. And then here I have plug-in B-roll, because as you've seen throughout this video, there's been a ton of overlay B-roll, and that comes from past hunts, past projects, and stuff like that. So as I'm going through, this plug-in B-roll file right here is where I'm gonna put all of that extra footage from different drives and whatever else, and I'm just gonna copy it into that folder. After that, you have my project folder from Premiere Pro. Sound, the sound folder is where I'm carrying all sound effects, lav mics if we used them, music, anything like that. And then thumbnail images. As I go through, I'll pull screen grabs from the video for thumbnail, or if we shot specific thumbnails like we did for this video, as you guys could see when you clicked on it, I'll have all that data right there inside thumbnail images. So next, I'm just gonna show you guys some real basic stuff on how to get this into Premiere Pro, That's the Adobe software I use for editing videos. There's so many different programs out there. Just get what you can afford and what's easy for you. Premiere Pro is kind of an industry standard. And the cool thing about Premiere Pro is if you look on YouTube, there are so many videos on tutorials on, I mean, from learning the smallest things to full level production. And I mean, there's so much tutorials and help out there for you guys to learn a program like Premiere Pro. And open up a new project in Premiere Pro. Okay, the window opened, and I'm gonna select new project because I want to open this in a new project to show you guys how I import footage and then just some baseline editing tools. So right here, I'm going to title my project. And the big thing here is no spaces in titles, guys. A lot of times this can format weird and it can cause lagging and unsaving. So if you're doing multiple words, I'll use dash marks or periods, whatever. So how dash to dash film dash example project. Now I'm going to come in here and choose my location where I want to save it. How to film. Project folder, save. So I'm gonna go create project. I'm not gonna worry about any of this window right here for importing footage. Now, if you looked on the top left, this is kind of your effects controls tab. This is your project tab. On the bottom left, this is where you're gonna import all your footage to. On the bottom right, here's your timeline. This is what we're gonna be editing in. And then up here in the program, it'll be kind of that view window. So I'm gonna move this project over. And you can go in here, double click, import media to start, go through and select your files, but I'll show you guys the easiest way to do this. If you already organized your footage like we did, I'm literally just gonna grab those folders and drag them into here and import them. So first I'm gonna do Chase A7 III, import. So if we go here, click down, it has all our clips from the shoot. Now, and each one of these folders, once you put them into Premiere Pro, they become a bin. And what they call that a bin, it's basically just a folder and it's just another way to organize them. So then next, I'm gonna import Noah A7 III, and then I'm gonna import Office clips. So I'm gonna full screen Premiere Pro, and the first thing I'll do is just click Chase A7 III, down arrow, and all these clips are organized. So what I'll do is if you double click the first clip, it'll show the first one that he took. And then your I key is for ins and your O is for out. So I'll play the video, I'll select an in, select an out, and what I'm doing is just rough cutting sections of the clip I want. And next all you have to do is drag them down into your sequence, and now you have the clip in your timeline. And then as you want to edit this clip, all you're gonna do is C or the razor tool, but the shortcut for that is pressing the key C. That turns into a razor, and you can cut that clip, and then just press V. It's just kind of your cursor tool. If you click that portion you don't want in there anymore, once you're scrubbing footage, you just click it, press delete. And so what I'll do when I'm rough cutting is I'll work in this window, and I'll go, and then I'll click the next clip. I'll find the portion of the clip that I want to use, and then drag it down into my timeline next. And then next thing I'll do is I'll fine tune it. After that, find maybe I didn't need this portion. If it's on the end, the other thing you could do is just click the end and drag it in. And guys, this is just such a basic intro to Premiere Pro, and I just kind of want to show you guys a little bit of the whole process. But there's so much information out there for you guys, and this is how I learned through YouTube. I didn't take any classes, anything else. I learned how to use Lightroom, Photoshop, After Effects, Premiere Pro, all these different things. I learned them mainly through YouTube. I downloaded all the programs, and there's so many tutorials out there for you guys to watch that you can learn so much, and people who are far better editors than I even, and there's just so much information out there. So I just wanted to give you guys just some baseline knowledge on the programs I use and kind of my organizing system, because the biggest part about this is, and especially if you're filming a lot of hunts in a year, is organization's key. So getting all that stuff into separate files, naming them by date, having different folders for each individual camera, each angle, each mic, whatever it is. And then that way, when you get into the post process to edit, it's that much easier for you guys. So if this video brought any value to you guys at all from beginning and end, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Ask questions about something else you'd like to see, something else you'd like us to talk about. And we wanted to do this because we're launching this thing for Elk Week next year, where we want your videos to be on our channel. in the summer of 2023. So this fall, we want you and your friends, whoever else, to film an entire elk hunt and then bring that to us next spring. And we're gonna pick 5 winners, and we're gonna show your guys' videos on our channel. And what we're doing that for is we just want to celebrate elk hunting films and give back to you guys who have been able to give so much to us and so much support. So thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
No worries over nickels and dimes or a 9 to 5 grind. I gotta get loose sometimes.